time and place between your ears. A magic land, yes and west, you'll find there. Your imagination is the place to start. Join us on a journey home to your heart. Storytelling agents in America. Welcome to our home Storytopia. Asian America.
Once upon a time,
Storytopia.
once
Once
ago,
upon a time.
Storytopia.
Asian America. Storytopia.
Hello, welcome to Asian American Storytopia. My name is Anne Shimojima, and it's wonderful to see you here with us today. Let's get started.
Hello, I am Roopa Mohan, an Asian American storyteller. When I was growing up in India, I heard many jungle stories, and here is one. It's about a lion that was fast asleep in a forest one day. Suddenly, he was disturbed by something tickling his nose. He woke up and said, "Who is disturbing me? I was fast asleep." A little mouse had tickled him and was scampering down his body. The lion grabbed the mouse and said, "Mouse, I am going to eat you now." "Oh, I am so sorry, Your Majesty. I didn't mean to tickle you. I thought you were a rock and I was climbing up. Please forgive me. I will help you in the future." "Ah, how can you help me? You are such a little creature. Okay, go away and don't ever do this to me again." Well, the mouse went away. But a few days later, when the mouse returned to that area, he noticed that the lion was in a net. A hunter had cast a net on him, and he was trapped and trying to free himself. Arr! The mouse decided to help him. He went and he started nibbling and chewing on the net. And very soon he released the lion. The lion was grateful, and they both became the best of friends, living in peace and friendship for the days to come.
I'm Tobey. I'm Japanese American. About 100 years ago, my grandparents came from Japan to the United States to make it their home. Now I live in Olympia, Washington. I'd like to show you how to make a really simple drum that I use when I'm practicing my taiko drum. Taiko is the art of Japanese drumming and has been in Japanese culture for many centuries. Now it's quite popular in the United States. For this activity, you will need a 5-gallon bucket, packing tape, sandpaper, and a pair of scissors, and if they're sharp, please be careful. You will also need a dowel that is cut into 2 pieces about 17 inches in length. And when you go to the store, you want to make sure that the diameter of your dowel is 1 inch. If you can see here, I've drawn a red line that cuts the circle in half, and that's called the diameter, and it is 1 inch. After you cut your drumsticks or bachi, you take the sandpaper and you start sanding away at the ends until they are nice and smooth and rounded, and you do it to both sides. You'll take this 5-gallon bucket that you can get at a hardware store, take your packing tape, put it on one end over here, and you're going to stretch it all the way across to this other end, but you are really going to pull it very, very tight.
like this.
Now comes the fun part.
Ichi, ni, san.
Hi everyone, I'm Linda Yemoto, Asian American Storyteller, and I live in Oakland, California. My grandparents came here from Japan well over 100 years ago, and I'm third generation Japanese American, or Sansei. Now, today I'd like to share with you a kind of a creepy story from Japan. I learned it from Hiroko Fujita, and I tell it to you with her permission. Mukashi mukashi, aru tokoro ni, long, long ago, in a small mountain village in Japan, lived a young man who would soon be turning 16. He lived with his mother, his father, and his older brother. Now, being the second-born son, not the firstborn, he knew he would not be receiving any of the family farm as an inheritance. And so he would have to go out and seek his fortune. So on his 16th birthday, his mother gave him a hanten jacket, a very nice, lightweight but warm jacket that she made for him and his travels, because it was fall and it would soon be turning cold. And then she packed as much food as possible. He put it in his little pack, and off he went down the mountain road that left their village, went down the mountain, crossed a meadow, and climbed another mountain pass. Now, when he reached the top of that pass, he decided he would take a rest, maybe eat a bit of his food. So he sat down under the shade of a tree, and he could look down to see where he'd be going next. He could see that the trail went down the mountain and went across another broad meadow and then climbed another mountain pass. But he noticed that coming down that mountain trail was another traveler. Oh, perhaps he will know if there's any work to be had down on the other side of that mountain. And so the young man decided to wait for this traveler, and he watched as the traveler came down the mountain trail and started to cross the broad meadow. So then the young man stood up and waved, and the traveler saw him, so he waved back and picked up his pace a bit. So the young man sat back down again, but he noticed something strange coming out of the forest that surrounded the meadow. Zuru, zuru, nyoro, nyoro, zuru, zuru, nyoro, nyoro. It was an enormous snake, the biggest the young man had ever seen in his life. The head alone was this big, and he could see the snake was flicking out its tongue, and he had caught the scent of the traveler. Zuru, zuru, nyoro, nyoro, zuru, zuru, nyoro, nyoro. But the snake was behind the traveler. He didn't see it, and apparently he couldn't hear it. So the snake was going faster and faster toward the traveler. Zuru, zuru, nyoro, nyoro, zuru, zuru, nyoro, nyoro. So the young man jumped up. Nigero, nigero, run, run. But the traveler couldn't hear him. He just waved back and kept walking. Zuru, zuru, nyoro, nyoro, zuru, zuru, nyoro, nyoro. The snake grabbed the traveler by the head and wrapped its body around the traveler. The young man could see the traveler was trying to catch his breath, but every time he breathed in, the snake would squeeze harder and harder and harder. Soon the traveler lay dead on the ground. And then the young man watched with horror and fascination as the snake opened its mouth wide and began to swallow the traveler from head to toe. So here was the snake's head, and behind it, an enormous lump in its body, which was the traveler. And then the young man watched as zuru zuru nyoro nyoro, rather slowly, the snake went to a part of the meadow where the grass looked a bit different. The blades were longer and a brighter green. He watched as the snake grabbed a mouthful, yanked it out of the ground, and swallowed it. The snake did this several times, and that huge lump that was the traveler, it began to get smaller and smaller and smaller until it looked like the snake had eaten nothing at all. And then zuru zuru nyoro nyoro, zuru zuru nyoro nyoro, the snake disappeared back into the forest. Well, the young man picked up all his things, ran down the mountain trail into the meadow over to that patch of grass. What that snake ate should have taken it days, if not weeks, to digest, but it disappeared in minutes. This must be some kind of magic melting grass. So the young man grabbed several handfuls, put it in his pack, and then, checking to make sure the snake wasn't coming back out of the forest, he ran through the meadow and on up that mountain trail over to the other side. Now, when he got to the town on the other side of that mountain, they were having an Aki Matsuri, a fall festival. There was dancing in the streets. There were booths set up with food and games. And he saw a big sign, noodle eating contest today, cash prizes. Oh, not only can I eat as much udon noodles as I want, but I might win some cash prizes too. And so he immediately went to the noodle eating contest. Now, when he got there, there were long rows of tables set up with bowls of udon noodles and broth. So the young man took his place behind one of those bowls, and ding! Everyone grabbed their bowl, began slurping. Zuru, 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 zuru. He was eating so fast he wasn't even chewing, he was just swallowing the noodles whole. Zuru, 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 zuru. And when that bowl was empty, another. Zuru, 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 zuru. And then another. Zuru, 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 zuru. And another. Zuru, 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 zuru. Ding! Well, that bell meant that all the contestants could take a short break. They each had a little booth to go in with a curtain and a tatami mat on the floor. So the young man went into his booth, closed the curtains. Oh, I am so full. I don't think I can eat one more noodle. And then he remembered the magic melting grass. So he took out his pack, took out one blade of grass and smelled it. Smelled okay, and so he nibbled a little. Amu, amu, amu. It tasted okay, and then he waited to see how his stomach felt. Felt okay, so he ate some more. Amu, amu. And more, amu, 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 amu. He knew the break would be over soon. Amu, 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 ding! Now, that bell meant that all the contestants needed to return to their places. And looking up and down the rows of tables, everyone returned except for that young man. So, ding! They rang the bell again, thinking perhaps he had fallen asleep and didn't hear it. Still no young man. So they went to his little booth. They opened the curtains and they looked in. No young man. There on the tatami mat was his hanten jacket surrounding a massive pile of noodles. For you see, that was magic melting grass. It melted human flesh. Oshimai. That is all.
Well, I hope you had fun and learned something new. Give us a thumbs up on our Asian American Storytopia channel and subscribe. It's free. We hope to see you again at our next Asian American Storytopia program. Until then, sayonara. That's Japanese for goodbye. Bye-bye.